on the Six Screens Tele-Network, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, the end is near.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome in to JW World News. Can you believe it? February 26th, 2022, and we are counting down the last days of the Watchtower. Stay with us. We have got a lot to talk about tonight, and I'm so glad we have more and more people joining us every Saturday night for what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Well, there you have it. Hello, everyone, and welcome into the apostate capital of the world, right up here in Boston, Massachusetts. I've been saying it for 16 years. Yes, indeed, this is where it all originates. This is where all things started. This is when so many people started leaving the Watchtower. And that's a fact. They started leaving in the Northeast first, right up here where I'm from. Boston, New York, the great Northeast. This is when people started waking up to all the situations, all the lies, the falsehoods that are in the Watchtower organization. So you're in good company. We got a lot of apostates up here. I'm telling you, more and more people are leaving the Jehovah's Witness religion. They have had enough. And don't you worry. You're saying, geez, Rick, I wish I had some apostates in my area. Well, if you're anywhere in the world, don't you worry whether you're in Australia, whether you're in the UK, whether you're down in Miami, Florida, whether you're out in the Midwest of the United States, California, whether you're up north, down south, east, west, wherever you be. Wherever you are, you're going to have good company. There's going to be way more apostates than you're going to be able to count. They're leaving in droves. Yes, we can counting down the last days of the Watchtower for many years here, 16 years. And now we're starting to see, as I say to you guys every week, we are getting points up on the scoreboard. Yes, but you know what's really good? You know, the apostates, you know, we can do some damage. The activists, the real apostates. I mean, there's been a lot of problems lately in the ex-witness world. My God, there's more fighting and backbiting going on than I've ever seen in 16 years. And, you know, I don't know why all this fighting. They're all fighting and bickering. Geez, can you imagine Jehovah's Witnesses getting in and listening to some of this baloney that's going it's going on in the ex-witness world? It's discouraging. It discourages me. My goodness gracious, it really does. How do you expect to help Jehovah's Witnesses? When I set this whole program in motion 16 years ago, my main mission was to help Jehovah's Witnesses. Yes, I got out of the organization and I was helped. So I said, you know something? I'm going to return the favor to those people that helped me. I want to help people leave the world of the Jehovah's Witnesses. But man, how can... I want you to think about it. Just stop and think. Take a look at some of these people on YouTube. Now, if you're a witness and you turn on their channel and you hear, you know, F-bombs floating all over the place, all the curse and swear words you ever want, men that look like, you know, hippies, I mean, are you going to be attracted to this? Are you going to be attracted to this if you're a witness getting out of the organization? You're going to take one click in there and hear all their discussion and arguments and backbiting and swearing, and you can say, that's it. Jehovah's Witnesses, we know the apostates are mentally diseased. We don't need this. Believe me, if you're going to do a YouTube video, come on, dress yourself up a little bit. If you're a woman, comb your hair, put a little makeup on. If you're a man, You don't have to put a tie on. I do. I'm trying to connect with the witnesses. You don't have to put a tie on, but get a haircut. Look halfway decent. I mean, that's basically what I was looking for. I wasn't gonna, when I was leaving the Watchtower, I wasn't gonna get in and listen to a bunch of kooks. Seriously. So let's realize that we gotta sharpen the image up here, friends. Us activists, all of us in the ex-Jehovah's Witness world, can you do me a favor? I couldn't sleep last night thinking of this. I see all these videos, people moaning, groaning. It's disturbing. It's distressing. It's disappointing. Geez, if you're going to be an activist, what are you in this for? Are you in it for the money? Are you really in this for the money? Do you think there's fame and glory being an activist? Do you think it's cost, friends, it's cost me over $50,000 to put this up for 16 years. I'm not complaining, I'm just explaining. I make no money here. I'm not trying to make money. But if that's what one's goal is, to try to make money, it's not going to work. I want to help you guys. I want you guys to get yourself out of this diabolical organization. That's what my goal is. So I just wanted to say these things tonight because I've been ticked. I have been ticked. And you watch. Within the next month, we're going to have more articles coming out in the Watchtower that are going to be calling all of us ex-witnesses, all of us apostates. They're going to be giving us every name in the book. They're going to bring all of this up, all of the bickering, all of the problems that some of the ex-witness people have got into. They're going to bring this up. Why wouldn't they? I mean, if you're the enemy, you're going to find every way in the world to try to attack those that are speaking against you. So let's just know that's going to happen. But I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up at all. But the only thing I could advise, really, well, let's be all ladies and gentlemen here. Do we have to drop the F-bomb? Geez, you get into Reddit and some of these forums. It's despicable. This isn't going to help the witnesses. I don't know who it's helping, really. But let's help the witnesses. Let's kind of clean our act up a little bit. And let's move forward and help the witnesses get out. Let's kind of speak their language, so to speak. Let's not look like radical hippies. All right. Well, you're on JW World News. Thank you very much for coming on here tonight. I'm glad you're with me. I'm really glad you're with me. We got a lot to talk about here tonight. It's just amazing to me. It's just amazing to me that we are seeing so many things happening in the Watchtower. We now have countries coming down on the Watchtower. Countries coming down on the Watchtower. Not just us apostates. We have big countries. We're going to be talking about that. Boy, I'll tell you what, though. I'm so glad to be able to come here every Saturday night. I've never missed a Saturday night. I am here because you are here. You need this. You need this. There's many people right now. There's people that are sitting in a room. They're listening to this program. They're being shunned by their family. They're not sure what to do, but this is a live program, so people listen to it. They love to hear the people calling in. And so they're listening, and they're probably crying right now. They're saying, I'm so upset with the Watchtower. I'm glad I can listen to a live program like this. So I know there's people out there like that. They're emailing and tell me that. They're listening in tonight. So anyways, let's get to the news. Let's get to the news. Let's bring this. Yes, go ahead.
Oh, Rick. Hey, it's Braden. I know you're just about to get into your news, but I just wanted to touch on your comment there. That was an excellent point that you've brought up. There is a lot of fighting and bickering going on right now in the ex-JW community, and what I don't understand, all of us are being affected have been affected by the organization, whether we're shunned, some of us haven't talked to family members in years. And the people that have been through the same situation that we've been, where we can relate to them on a personal level almost, when you start attacking, you're not doing any better than what Jehovah's Witnesses are doing. You're creating divisions. I think when, like a program like this, when everybody has a chance to call and we all speak calmly and we all share our opinions, right? I mean, sure, there are some things that I don't agree with, and there are some things that I say that people may not agree with, but we do it in a peaceful manner. You know, we don't need, like you said, we don't need to drop the F-bomb or, you know, begin using childish language and insults. I mean, we're adults. We should be able to speak peacefully, and I really thought that was an excellent comment, Rick.
Well, thank you. Thank you. No, it's a personal comment. It wasn't really targeted at anyone specifically, but I see it out there. I see some of these YouTubes, not all. I'm not going to, paint everything with a broad brush, but I'm really disappointed. I'm disappointed with some of the stuff that's going on in this world of the ex-witness. My golly, I don't see how it can help anybody, really. But thank you for commenting. Thank you. All right.
All right. Bye, Rick.
Bye. That was Braden up there in Toronto, Canada. But did you guys notice? Now, it was February 22nd. That was just a couple of days ago. Well, it was President's Day. Well, I don't know if anyone thought about it or not, but, the Watchtower has a president. Did you know that? Yeah, the Watchtower has a president in addition to the governing body. Yeah. And it's very interesting that the governing body can have a president, but it's against the religion for, kids to run for class president. When I was in high school, they wanted me to run for class president. Yeah, they did. I was a pretty good guy. I got good marks and I was kind of personable. I used to be the MC at the dances in high school. And my mother was a Jehovah's Witness. My father wasn't. But all the kids wanted me to be the president of the class. Rick, why don't you run for president? And I says, well, I might do it. I'm thinking of it. And I told my mother, who was a Jehovah's Witness, what do you think she did? She put the kibosh to it. You don't do that, Rick. You don't do that. Jehovah's Witnesses don't run for president. But yet we have a president of the Watchtower. I mean, think about it. Do you know who he is? His name is Robert Saranco. Robert Saranco, Spanish name. He is the current president of the Watchtower. Yeah, in fact, let me do this. Let me put his picture up here so you can see him. The Watchtower really doesn't speak too much about him, but let me put a picture up so at least you can see Robert. So let's do this. I got some pictures.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Sure. We missed it this year, but as the Sixth Strings member or whatever, I think we need to recognize the president. Next year, we all need to send him a little thank you card.
Well,
President's Day.
Well, I got thinking of it on President's Day to some degree, that he doesn't get much attention. No, he really doesn't. Robert Saranco, he doesn't get much attention. The Watchtower never really speaks much about him. And I'm going to tell you why. And when I give you my little story, I'll give you my little synopsis. When I was invited down to Watchtower for a position, a potential position on the governing body. And I'm going to tell you what I was told back then, so you get a kick out of it, but I'll tell you that at the end of the story. But let me just give you a little history here. Yeah, we have a governing, I say we, I still refer to it in their vernacular. I'm not one of Jehovah's Witnesses, but Robert Saranco, he's the president. But right now, the Watchtower, really, the leaders of the Watchtower are the governing body. Now, up to President Noor, the president of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, was the leader of the Jehovah's Witnesses. So if you were the president up till Noor, you were the head honcho. You were the big guy in the Watchtower, but things changed. But let me just give you a little history so I can set the table here so you'll understand what's going on. Since its incorporation in 1884, the Watchtower Bible Tract Society of Pennsylvania has been directed by a president and a board of directors. So all the way up from 1884 to October 1st, 1971, the Watchtower had a president that was the head honcho. Things changed in October of 1971. In fact, that's when we had a lot of changes in the Watchtower. The elder arrangement came into play. You would now be dismissed for disfellowship for smoking cigarettes, but that's a side story. We won't go there. But in 1971, the structural change took place in the who runs the Watchtower. Now, the Watchtower Society president at the time, Frederick Franz, he addressed the annual meeting of the Pennsylvania Corporation, stating that the legal corporation of the Watchtower Society was just an agency or temporary instrument used by the governing body on behalf of the faithful and discreet slave. Let me just explain what that's saying here. So up until 1971, the president, as I say, he was the guy that made all the decisions. Franz, Knorr, Rutherford, they made all the decisions. But now Franz came out in 71 and he said that the corporations, or the corporation of the Watchtower Society, all of those directors and the presidents, they're just an agency or temporary instrument. In other words, the ones that really are running the Watchtower would be the governing body on behalf of the faithful and discreet slave. So, okay, so what is being said there is in 1971, in order to be on the governing body, you would have to be a member of the faithful and discreet slave. What is that? What does that mean? That means you had to be anointed. Okay. So then we find in that same year of 1971, that we had kind of an additional thing going on. The governing body now took some additional men and brought them in to help them and expanded the governing body. So this happened in 1971. So the focus of this whole new concept, this whole new idea in the Watchtower had to do with theocratic, underline that, theocratic leadership. In other words, the directors before, they were dealing with business matters. The president was dealing with matters other than theocratic leadership. But the governing body, they were set up to deal with, the meat, the muscle, the biblical application, the theocratic leadership. So this went on from 1971. They kept refining the governing body and making it more theocratic, making it more like they are the ones that are dispensing the meat in due season. But something happened in the year 2000 that also was another monumental change. This was when I went down and visited Brother Loesch. I'll get into that. I know I mentioned it a few times, but in 2000, the year 2000, I was invited. I was anointed. I have to say, I wasn't one of those in your face anointed ones, but I realized that, you had to, in order to follow Jesus, in order to really be a member of the kingdom, you had to partake. I mean, these are the scriptures that I was reading. I'm not going to get preachy on you tonight, but I was anointed because I realized that that's what Jesus said you had to do. If you're going to see the kingdom of God, you have to be born again. It's okay. So I'm anointed. I got that part of it. So I was in good standing. I wasn't making trouble. I wasn't in people's faces. So the governing body, Brother Loesch in particular, he got wind of this. So I was invited. He talked to me before I went down there, but I was invited for a potential position to be on the governing body. And at the time, what was happening in the Watchtower is they were using men, they called them Nephilim. Do you remember them, the Nephilim? I'm not going to get too biblical on you tonight here. I don't do that, but this is important for me to discuss this. But the Nephilim...
Pix remembers all those phrases. This is the most interesting that I've heard from you. Keep going.
All right. So anyways, the Nephilim was creating a real issue. In 1992, the Watchtower came out with an article in the back of the Awake magazine. It was on the back cover of all things. And they were talking about helpers for the governing body. Now, these helpers were taken from the Israelites back in the Old Testament. Now, they had helpers. They called them Nephilim. They were helpers. They helped rebuild the temple in Jerusalem, but they were not Israelites. So the governing body figured, well, we can have some helpers, even though they're not anointed. We can have them help us in our duties to perform in bringing meat to people in due season. Well, hold on. Let's put the brakes on. Brother Loesch, I say brother, he's not my brother, but just to stay in the vernacular, as I always say, Brother Loesch and I got talking quite a bit on the telephone. He liked the idea that I was of the anointed one, in good standing, a male member, wasn't rocking anybody's boat. I wasn't being brought in all the time and questioned. So wind got out. I was at the right age too. I was around 53, 54 years old. I was the right age. They were looking for people, businessman and someone that could speak to some degree, which I could. So they got wind of that, and I was invited down to the world headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses in Brooklyn, New York. Yes. And I spent the whole day there with Brother Loesch. I couldn't believe it. I'm saying, why would he want to spend the whole day? He did. And he asked me all kinds of questions, and he wanted me to be part of everything. And he was grooming me for this position. And at the time, he told me, the very first thing he told me when I went there, he says, Brother Fearon, do you know the biggest problem that we have in the Watchtower? And I said, gee, I don't know what the biggest problem would be. He said, well, the biggest problem in the Watchtower right now is the phone is ringing off the hook. People do not like the idea of governing body helpers being non-anointed. He says that the phone is ringing off the hook. Those are his words. He said, so, all of the governing body members have to be anointed. So he was grooming me. He knew I could fit the role. So he was asking me certain things and working on certain scriptures and what have you. This was really amazing to me. Now, at the time, let me tell you, at the time, there was 8,753 people, I believe, that were of the anointed. Yeah. So my wife was with me, my former wife. She's dead now, but she was with me. She also was anointed, and she was there. And so Brother Loesch said that, there's not a whole lot of anointed ones left. So he said that, 5,000 of the anointed, over 5,000 were women. And he says, what can they do? And I'll tell you, my wife was upset over that. And that's not fair for the Watchtower to say that. But he said, well, 5,000 women, and what can they do? Well, women can also work in responsible positions. Come on, let's get real, but not in Watchtower. So I fit the mold, but the story that I'm trying to relate to you with this President's Day and Saranko, and I was told then by Brother Loesch, he says, now we've changed everything around, Brother Fearon. This was in the year 2000. He says, we changed everything around, Brother Fearon. He says, all these presidents of the Watchtower that you read about, and all of these officials and the heads of the corporation, he says, they're nothing. He says, they're nothing more than like janitors in the Watchtower. He made a comment to that effect, that their job is menial. He says, the ones that really run the Watchtower are the governing body. So I thought that was kind of a shot against the presidents, but then I'm reading this on Saranko, and I'm saying, well, geez, they don't mention him much at all. But I mean, let's face it, that's an administrative position, and that's administrative responsibility. Now, according to the definition, if someone's in administration, if someone's a president, I would say that's a pretty high position, isn't it? So I don't know what's going on here, if the Watchtower is buffaloing people or what they're doing. But anyways, if you're listening, Brother Saranko, I think you should probably get a little more attention than they're giving you. So that was the biggest issue in the Watchtower. Now we have presidents, but according to Loesch, they're nothing more than a menial position. So the governing body, I want to make it perfectly clear, the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses is now the ruling council of Jehovah's Witnesses, and they're based up there in Warwick, New York. They're the ones that formulate the doctrines. They oversee the production of written material for publications and conventions, and they administer the group's worldwide operations. So official publications refer to members of the governing body as followers of Christ rather than religious leaders. Now, just for the record, just to bring you up to speed, because a lot of witnesses don't even know who the governing body are, I'm going to give you an idea when some of them came in. How about Kenneth Cook? Well, he's a governing body member, and he came in 2018. Now, that wasn't too long ago, right? Samuel Hurd, he came in let's see, I believe that was 1999. Jeffrey Jackson, 2005. Stephen Lett, 1999. Garrett Loesch, 1994. Anthony Morris, 2005. Mark Sanderson, 2012. And David Splane, 1999. Now, the youngest governing body member is 78 years old. That would be Kenneth Cook. And then the oldest governing body member would be Mark Sanderson. He would be 82. Garrett Loesch is 81. Anthony Morris is 80. Jeffrey Jackson is 80. Stephen Lett, the one with the funny face, he's 79. And Hurd is 79. So they're all getting up there. They're all getting up there. And according to the newest adjustments in teaching, they're all going to be taken out of here. All of these governing body members, they're going to be out of here when supposedly Armageddon hits. Yeah, they're going to be taken to heaven, and they're going to take part in the executional forces of Jesus when he comes and executes all of those that are against God's sovereignty. Yeah, they're going to be taking part of that. So I wanted to bring that up to you. So President's Day passed. President of the Watchtower, he gets no comments. He gets no.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead,
Do
Pixie.
we know what sort of education he has? Is he an accountant? Maybe he's taking care of the books or the taxes. He may have a very quiet position, but it might be corporate importance.
Well, that's right. That's exactly right. It doesn't say too much about him, but he does and has been around the Watchtower for many years. He's not a newcomer, but he has been involved with administration operations with the Watchtower for many years. But now he is the president, Pixie. I don't have information on exactly what his field of expertise would be. I don't have that here. Nope. So there you go. So there you have it. So that's a little story, a little history of the Watchtower and the governing body. Boy, but I have to tell you, friends, I really, really have to tell you, it's, I can remember there was a man in my congregation, he was an elder, and he always should say, boy, isn't the Watchtower organized, Rick? Isn't the most organized organization in the world? Well, I will say they do a good job at keeping people in. I mean, even though there's many leaving right now, they're good con men. Let's go with that. If there's anything that I have to say good about the Watchtower, they're good con men. Yes. So there you go. That's the governing body. Now let's move on here. Let's talk about some other things that are going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. And I must say, there's a lot going on. A lot going on. Let's go with Sweden. Have you guys been following that? Big news this week in Sweden. Well, Jehovah's Witnesses, they're going to have the charity funds. That's really not charity funds. I don't want to refer to it as that. But Jehovah's Witnesses get funds in Sweden. Some call it charity funds, but they're really not a charity. But they get funds from the government of Sweden, and they get it for just being a faith-based organization. Now, they're going to be losing those funds, according to information coming across here this week. Under Swedish law, the Swedish government provides state funding to faith-based organizations, provided that they contribute to upholding and strengthening the fundamental values upon which the Swedish society rests. Did you catch that? You know, there's countries that actually pay religions for being there. Did you know that? Well, a lot of people didn't, but you know, throughout the UK, many countries in Europe, we have Sweden here. They actually pay religions or faith-based organizations. They give them money for each person they have in their religion, for each member. So the more members you have, the more money you make. But of course, these faith-based organizations, they have to be upholding and strengthening the fundamental values upon the Swedish society here. So first of all, has the Watchtower been upholding and strengthening the fundamental values of Swedish society? Well, Sweden, going back to, say, even 2017, they were skeptical. They were skeptical about the Watchtower. They weren't happy with some of the things they were hearing about the Watchtower, the way they treat people, their blood concerns. So even back to 2017, the Swedish government was thinking of pulling the plug on giving them money. So for some reason, they just kept giving it to them and didn't question it. But now all of a sudden, Sweden is going in the same direction that Norway is going in. Norway is also taking away their status, their money status. Yeah, that's right. So Sweden's following suit. But Norway has taken away the money from Jehovah's Witnesses because they shun. See, shunning doesn't really help a society, does it? When you have families being broken apart. So Norway says, hey, no way. We're not going to give money to the Jehovah's Witnesses when they shun people, even their own children. So Sweden, of course, a neighbor here, close to Norway, they got thinking, well, we're going to look into the witnesses. So they're looking into it. So it looks like they're pulling the plug on the witnesses. But in their case, they're going to go basically on the blood situation where family members die. Even children die because of not accepting a blood transfusion. You know, isn't this, friends, I'm going to tell you, this is what really excites me. Countries are starting to look at what goes on behind this dangerous, destructive cult. See, they don't like this idea that a religion can get money from them at the same time their religious position is not doing anything for their society. And that's exactly what also took place in Russia. That's one of the reasons why Russia banned the Jehovah's Witnesses there. Look at Russia. I'm not going to get into Russia right now. We'll get to that later. But Russia really isn't this very rich, industrious country that everyone thinks it is. They do okay, but they're not really this big, major financial country. They don't rank up there with other countries. Russia has suffered economically, and they don't need Jehovah's Witnesses in Russia. Now, I don't like to see Jehovah's Witnesses sent to prison. I don't like to see them even tortured if they are. I wouldn't want to see that. But on the other hand, the witnesses have brought it upon themselves in Russia. When you disfellowship, now just think of this. Putin, well, he's a thug to begin with, but he doesn't like anyone in his country that's going to cost him more money. Now, if you're going to break families up, what do you think happens? These people are going to, most of them, especially if it's the lady of the house, the mother, she's got 3 or 4 little kids. The father takes off. Now, who's going to have to work with them and help them? Well, the government of Russia. So Putin doesn't like that. He puts that in the realm of extremism. So it's the same thing now going on with Sweden and Norway. They're looking into the Jehovah's Witnesses, Belgium as well. We have got countries that are now examining and putting the Watchtower under the microscope. Don't you like that? You got to love it. I love it because
I found this very interesting. And most of the Scandinavian people that emigrated after 4 wars moved to the Midwest of America. So when you look at Sweden, Norway, and Denmark, they have very solid family structures with the parents and the children and the grandparents and some of the oldest laws in Europe. So they look at civics, they look at, does it benefit the tribe? Does it benefit our little village? Does it benefit each family? So they're looking at, they're very modern. They're sometimes now they don't have marriages, but the father will still show up for support. Some of them have socialism now, but culturally, they are very old-fashioned in what is good for the town.
Exactly. They don't need anyone that's going to be, ripping their country apart, Pixie. So, the Watchtower, they have been getting away with murder. They have been getting away, getting money. Oh, just send us a check. We'll take it. Thank you. At the same time, they're doing nothing to help society in these countries that they're in. So I'm glad that some of these officials in these countries are waking up and smelling the coffee. And you know what it is? I'm going to tell you what it is. And I want all you guys listening out there. I want you're all activists to begin with. If you're listening in here tonight, and especially if you're calling in, you're a Jehovah's Witness activist. And you write on these forums, many of you do. And I would say continue doing that. Continue your activism, because all of it works collectively together, because eventually it makes the news. And that story in Norway, we reported that a couple of weeks ago. The reason why they're really coming down on the witnesses now is because of a young man that was shunned by his family. And he went to a magazine in Norway, which has millions of patrons that have subscriptions to that magazine. And what happened is he spoke up how he was being shunned by his family. He was just a young man. His family didn't want anything to do with him. So the magazine, they couldn't believe it. So they contacted Watchtower and, tried to get some answers from them, and they lied. And at the same time, they started looking into it, and they saw that, hey, this is bad. This is bad what the Watchtower is doing. We're going to cut their funding off. So now we have Sweden. This is going to ripple. This is going to ripple throughout Europe. Now, we don't, in America, they're not paid for having members. But nonetheless, the crime is still here. It's still a crime against society in America when people get shunned, right? When people don't take blood transfusions. It's going to create unbelievable hurt in society. So even though they're not making money in America, it doesn't negate or take away the punishment that society gets by having Jehovah's Witnesses take up base there. So I hope that America can change its position. But see what goes on in America. First Amendment is the problem, and it's a good problem. Don't get me wrong. I like the First Amendment, but it really does favor the Watchtower. It favors aberrant religious teachings. Very, very difficult. A lot of people who want to bring charges against the Watchtower and other religious organizations have a hard time doing it because they know in court they're going to cry First Amendment. Well, we have the right to do this because we're a church. I mean, that's what goes on. Very, very fascinating. Very fascinating. Well, you're on JW World News. That's the news the Watchtower doesn't want us talking about, but we talk about it every Saturday night. Anyone have anything to say about that at all? You go ahead. You're on with us. If you want to say something, you're on. Go ahead.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Just real quick, when I first heard you talk about the governing body talking about helpers, when I first heard that, I thought you were saying hellbirds, like birds from hell. Thank you, Rick.
All right. Well, it's helpers, Nephilim. Sorry if it came across that way, but that's helpers. Okay. Now, friends, you guys, I don't think you've been hiding under a rock this week. Jehovah's Witnesses, they are just like a bunch of mad hornets flying around the bee's nest. Really, they are so upset. They are upset in one hand and so happy on the other hand. Oh, they're so pleased with what's going on in the world right now. And I mean, unless you're hiding under a rock, I mean, the biggest thing going on in the Jehovah's Witness world right now is they are fear-mongering. It's right on jw.org. I'm going to put the site up here shortly, but it's right on jw.org. They are fear-mongering. Russia invades Ukraine. This is a crisis they are not going to rest over. They are going to drain this, and they are going to milk it for everything they possibly can. They do this every time there is some major event, whether it be COVID, whether it be the election, whether it be war. They have a headline, and they're going to run with it, and they're ready to capitalize. Let me put you guys on. If you're on Facebook, you're going to see this. If you're on YouTube, you're going to see it. I'm going to share this with you, so you'll be able to. Let me make sure that's up now and you're seeing it. Okay. This, what you're looking at right there, if you're on Facebook and YouTube, and I'll explain to those on the radio network and those in our 6 screens video suite. I'm right on jw.org right now, but let's take a look. We're going to take a look and see. Well, that's not the one I'm looking for. Let's go to the other one here. We do have another one here. Hold on 1 second for some reason. All right, here's the one that I want right here. I think this is the one. Let me just make sure we got that's the one I want. I'm gonna go to this one, and this is, if you're on, you can see it. This is their home page on jw.org, and it shows a picture of Russia, a global overview of it. And the headline here is on jw.org, Russia invades the Ukraine. Okay, so we all know that. So this is up here. They didn't waste any time getting this up there, believe me. In the early morning hours of February 24, 2022, Russia began a military invasion of Ukraine, despite the efforts of world leaders to avoid war. How might this military conflict affect the world? The Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, said a few days ago the price in human suffering, destruction, and damage to Europe and global security is too high to contemplate. So here we go. This is the first thing. If you get on jw.org, this is the first thing you're going to see. Russia invades Ukraine. Now, then it goes on to say, what significance do events like this have according to the Bible? Oh, here we go. I mean, they're good at this. They're going to get a lot of people's attention. Anyone that's having some thoughts, they know things are written in the Bible about the last days and the king of the north, the king of the south. We know all of that. And other religionists, too, are concerned about it. So they're going to get on jw.org and, oh, look at this. The Watchtower's got the answer. What significance do events like this have according to the Bible? How many times have we read this? Jesus Christ. This is what Watchtower is saying, and I'm reading it verbatim right off of their website. Jesus Christ foretold a time when nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. Okay, we know that as witnesses. We're out preaching that, right? So that's what they're saying, is saying Jesus' prophecy is coming to fulfillment. Well, how many times have we heard it before? I mean, eventually Jesus' prophecy will be fulfilled. But I see the witnesses taking advantage of this, as always. This is nothing new. They take advantage of every crisis that ever came down the pike, and they're going to throw these scriptures at you. Then it says the Bible book of Revelation depicts warfare as a rider who is seated on a fiery colored horse and who takes peace away from the earth. So there we go. The 4 horsemen. Oh boy, they're really painting a glim picture here. They're making it look like this is Armageddon. Just stay tuned. And then also it talks about the book of Daniel. and how there would be rivalry between the king of the north and the king of the south. I'm gonna play a video for you in a second. I'm gonna show you that video. That video is scary. That video the Watchtower produced is actually scary. It really is. Now, it's saying that, Revelation also describes the war of the great day of God the Almighty. So anyways, they're saying here that Armageddon's here. I really mean it. I mean, that's what, but they've always said it, right? There's nothing new. So why can you be hopeful about the future? Now that's what they're saying. The Bible says that God will bring an end to wars throughout the earth, and then there'll be real hope for a better tomorrow. Well, that's exactly what the Watchtower is trying to do here. They're trying to see, this is what they do. You guys have been around long enough to know the way. I hope you have been. I hope you're learning the tricks, the bag of tricks the Watchtower uses to hook people. And we did it. Maybe you did it without realizing it. But remember when we go door to door, and so we were trained. I'm going to tell you my little pitch. I'd go door to door. And, one way to really get the householder's attention was you start off with a negative. Well, the Watchtower is doing that right here on their website. They're starting off with a negative news story, very negative. They're saying it's really bad. The the general of the UN is saying this is really so bad and wicked. There's going to be a lot of bloodshed. They make it sound as bad and negative as they possibly can in the beginning. But then, of course, now they're getting to there will be better times. Now, we did this going door to door, whether you realized it or not. How many times did you start out going door to door? You knock on the person's door, right? Let me just knock here. So you knock on the person's door. The person comes, oh, hi, how are you? Well, my name is Rick Fearon, and I'm here today talking to you and your neighbors. And did you hear about that horrific murder the other day, 2 towns over? You'd pick some negative story. And boy, wasn't that horrific? And boy, isn't the world really wicked today? And it's not getting any better, is it? So you'd start off with a negative story. And then, well, I'm here today to bring you good news. Jesus has been ruling since 1914. And very shortly, he's going to bring his kingdom power to be right here, right on earth, very shortly. So people had a listening ear. Start off with the negative, teach them the positive. This is what they did. And they're doing the same thing here on their website. Boy, they tell you how bad it is, but then there's hope. This is nothing more than a preaching campaign. They hope to get witnesses. They hope to get people to come in. Then they're going to love bomb them. They're gonna join one of their Zoom meetings and good to see you, glad you're here. They'll love bomb them, and they're gonna try to get as many recruits they can. This is a great recruiting technique. That's all it is. Now let me take a look here. Let's go down a little bit. Oh, I want to play a video. I want to play a video. Let me go over here now. This is a video. It's a few minutes long, but I want you to just watch it. You'll hear it if you're on the suite and if you're on our radio network, but I want you to hear this because this is really something else. It has to do with the book of Daniel. It has to do with unrest. It has to do with fulfilled prophecy. Now, boy, I'll tell you what, this video is scary. This video is scary. You watch it, and I'll kind of point out some of the most dangerous looking pictures, but they're using fear here, which is quite usual for the Watchtower to scare people in. So let me just get this up. First of all, I'm going to stop. For some reason, I want to make sure I'm going to stop sharing. Now I'm going to add. Let me just add this now. I want to put the video up here. So just give me a second to do this. I'm going to share this video, and let's see where we're going to share it. We're going to share it, okay, on Chrome. So I'm going to do that right now. So let's do this, and that would be significance online, right? I think it's this one right here. No, let's try this one. All right, let's try this one right here. Listen in. Listen in.
Daniel received a prophecy about the coming of two rivals, the king of the north and the king of the south. How has it been fulfilled? In the late 1800s, the German Empire became the king of the north. That government brought its power and heart against the king of the south with a large army. In fact, its navy was the second largest on earth. Who became the king of the south? The alliance between Britain and the United States. He fought during World War I with an exceedingly large and mighty.
Now, you guys probably remember as we studied certain publications in the Watchtower, we talked all about this, the king of the north, Russia, and of course their alliance and China to the south. And when we learned all of this as witnesses, and of course it was always changing all the time regarding who the king of the north would be. I remember they changed it even back in the 80s when they more or less said the king of the north were the insurrectionists around the world that were kind of showing their might and their power. They were naming the insurrectionists, the terrorists, as you would, as I would call them. They called them the king of the north. So they have changed. They have changed their position. But this video I'm playing for you right now on jw.org, it is quite a historical event. They're showing pictures, of course, of Hitler and WW1, WW2. But just listen in for a little bit, and we'll stop and play some little points, because this is the biggest story right now going on. This is the biggest story on the Watchtower right now, is dealing with Russia invading Ukraine. And they're making a big deal out of it. And so they got this video up on the book of Daniel. Well, let's listen in.
The army. He swept away and humbled the king of the north. But that was not the end of the king of the north. He turned his attention to and then hurled denunciations against the Holy Covenant. He removed the constant feature by limiting the freedom of God's people to preach, imprisoning many, and even killing hundreds of God's anointed ones and their fellow workers. After Germany was defeated in World War II, the Soviet Union became the king of the north. It worked with the king of the south to put in place the disgusting thing that causes desolation, the United Nations. Beginning in the early 1900s, the Soviet government tried to eliminate religion in the lands under its control, fulfilling the words that he would show no regard for the God of his fathers. He gave glory.
Well, what they do is they give a little history. I won't play the whole thing here for you, but I'm going to move forward and show you some of the fearful pictures that they show. But you know what they do? Of course, they mention first Germany was the king of the north. They went to Russia, the king of the north. But they don't mention what they said back in the well, it would have been probably the late 80s, early 90s. They were starting to say that there was these terrorist groups that was showing up was going to be the king of the north. But they don't mention that. So they stay basically here with Russia. But I just want you guys to see some of the pictures. Really, they would frighten a young person. Well, let me just move forward here so you could see some of these pictures that I want you to see. And near the end, these are very graphic pictures showing, persons being hiding in bunkers, scared to death of the stormtroopers coming in. Take a look at these pictures if you can see them. Let me just get this up here. Let's show you some of these pictures. Let me just squeeze back. It shows people running, stormtroopers chasing them, hiding in bunkers in the cellar. They've been doing this now for quite a while. Watch this. So So during that time, Michael will stand up, the great prince who is standing in behalf of your people. Well, they're referring to Michael there as being, that's Jesus in the world of the Watchtower. So they've got everything all mixed up and backwards, but, they've been talking about this king of the north and the king of the south. And this fear-mongering has been going on for years when you stop and think about it. But that's one way that people remain Jehovah's Witnesses. They're fearful. And that's why I want to say right now as well that, right now there's a lot of people who are going to be going back to the meetings because of this Ukraine-Russia war. There's going to be a lot of people. They're figuring time is running out and they better get into Jehovah's Ark while they still can to get shelter. So this is a crisis the Watchtower is going to capitalize on. They're going to get, because this happened before 9/11, right? 9/11. Do you know there were many people that left the organization that came back when the Twin Towers were hit by those planes? Yes. So catastrophic events, worldwide war, it brings people back. Not only Jehovah's Witnesses, but it brings people back to godliness. They're afraid. They don't know what to do. But the witnesses, man, do they really take advantage of this? So we're going to see attendance increasing. I don't think it will be for long. Jehovah's Witnesses are buzzing with excitement on how, the prospect of the big A, Armageddon, is arriving with the Russian invasion crisis. Oh, yeah, that's what the witnesses are thinking. In fact, many Jehovah's Witnesses who haven't been to the meetings for a while, they're now starting to see an increase in their email, in their inboxes. The Watchtower is sending them all this propaganda, trying to get them to come back to the meetings. And seriously, it's like one crisis after another. And this is the crisis right now for the witnesses, because the witnesses, as I said earlier, they thrive on crisis. Yeah, they do. That's how they get a lot of people that come in to their organization. So what do you guys think? Have you heard anything? Have relatives been saying anything to you about what's going on in Ukraine right now? What do you think? What have you heard? Yeah.
I think an atheist would see that it's a problem over there. The footage on CNN this morning and last night was just, it breaks your heart. The people have the subways as shelters. Some of them have had bomb shelters from World War II they're using again. And if you see Putin at that table, he thinks he's king of the North. So that's how it is.
Oh, there you go, Pixie. I understand what you're saying. Go ahead, Dick. You're with us.
And also military.com has got some nice news articles if you want a good news source. And CNN has been a very good news source. I think the news business is back, and I think they're reporting very accurately on the scene.
Well, let's hope that's the case, really, Pixie. Go ahead, Dick.
Eric, to your point about Jehovah's Witnesses never letting a good crisis go to waste, I can remember, I think it was 1971, and I was just coming into the cult, and John Major, who was an elder at the time, got up on the platform, and he just stared at everybody in the audience, and he said, "I'm sure you brothers found out what happened this week. Red China has been allowed into the United Nations, and at that week we had that earthquake in San Francisco." And he said, "Brothers, what more information do you need? We are in the very, very last seconds of this wicked, wicked system." And that was 1972, I believe. Thanks.
Well, there you have it. No, that's exactly right, Dick. I mean, that's going back, 40 years ago, 50 years ago almost. And so you say to yourself, my goodness gracious, they've been saying this for years. But, something that also caught my attention this week that was really disturbing And I get on JW.org a lot, checking news articles out and what have you. But there was an article that was reported on Forum 18. Are you familiar with Forum 18? Everybody out there, it's an internet site, it's a website that deals with persecution. It deals with what's going on with Christians around the world. And it does report a lot on Jehovah's Witnesses. So on Forum 18 this week, I took an article off of there that I wanted to read you tonight here on JW World News because I think it's appropriate that I do so. Now, why wasn't this story put up? I just read you a story about the Russian war with Ukraine. I just read you that story right off of JW.org. It was their main story this week. Why wouldn't they report this story, which was a good story coming out of Russia? It was on this Forum 18, like I say. And what it is Russia acquits 3 Jehovah's Witnesses on extremism charges. So, this was good news for the Jehovah's Witnesses this week. An appeal court overturned. I'm going to put a picture up here, and I'm going to show you a picture. If you're on YouTube and Facebook, you'll see it. So you're looking at some Russian Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, the woman to the left, she's 75 years old, and she was sentenced evidently for out preaching and instigating the world of the Watchtower in Russia. So she was going to be in prison for 6 years. And so the court overturned it. They cut her some slack. So she's not going to have to go to prison now. So I thought that was good. I don't want to see her. Her name was Anna Safronova. And that would have been too much. I mean, woman 75 years old going, that wouldn't have been fair. And I wouldn't like to see that happen to her. But it was overturned. And these other 2 witnesses as well, they got their sentences reduced and overturned as well. So this was good news for the Jehovah's Witnesses. This should be newsworthy. This should have been right there along with that story on Russia and the Ukraine and how their witnesses in Russia got some slack cut to them by the court system. But it wasn't there. It wasn't on JW.org. And I just want to, first of all, before I even get into more of this, I think it's important to, what could get you locked up in prison in Russia if you were a Jehovah's Witness? Now, just to give you an idea, you could. Did you
say they were acquitted? That 3 of them were acquitted?
Yeah, they let them go. Yep, they let them go.
Well, that should be excellent news. We should have Christian brothers applauding. So that tells me that the witnesses are using some of the true sad prison stories, but they want the populace, the members, to hear only about the arrests.
That's exactly what I was getting to, Pixie. They want to give you all the bad news because, oh, look at us, we're being persecuted, and look at the Russians. But here's some good news. This should have been on JW.org.
That's not journalism. That's propaganda in a nutshell, sir.
Absolutely. And, I got reading a little bit because I was wondering what would get you in trouble in Russia if you were a Jehovah's Witness. What would really get you in trouble? Now, what I have found out here is that you can practice your religion even as a Jehovah's Witness. You can actually, you can read the Bible. They don't want you out in service, of course. They don't really want you really meeting together, but you still can pray to God. You can still say you're a Jehovah's Witness, no problem. But what happened here is if you go out, you break a criminal code. If you go out and you specifically try to recruit people into the extremist organization, that's where the sentence comes in. So this poor woman evidently was out in service or found recruiting people into the organization, and that could have given her 6 years, but they let her go. But the point that Pixie, thank you. You're on the ball out there. So why wasn't this reported on the website? It's because the good news is not going to be a good storyline for Watchtower. The people they're supposed to be persecuted. We can't have people being let loose. So, this is one of the reasons that we have to distance ourselves from this shameful organization. That they're not telling us the truth. See,
what was the name of the page that had the story of them being let go?
Forum 18. Forum 18.
Forum 18. Thank you.
Yeah, you can get in and check that out. So, anyways, why didn't they report it? Because it doesn't apply to their persecution complex. You're not being persecuted if the Russians are letting you out of jail. So, what is the Watchtower waiting for before they publish this story? Are they waiting for the stones to cry out? I'm not sure what they're waiting for. But the Forum 18 is a fascinating website about the persecution of religious groups. And by the way, as you read various reports, you can see that persecution happens to different religious groups in different parts of the world. Jehovah's Witnesses are far from being the only group being persecuted. But they'd like to have you think that. They really, really would. They would like to have you think they're the only ones that are being persecuted in the world. So there you have it. It was disturbing to me. It really, really was that they didn't put that story up. That would have made, if I was a witness, I would have felt good about it. But they don't want you feeling good. They want you to feel bad. They want you to feel like, oh my goodness, we're being persecuted. We can't put good news on our site. This is persecution news. We're going to stay with that. That's how the Watchtower works. Isn't that something, huh? Yeah, well, I'll tell you, it's just unbelievable what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. If anyone wants to speak up, and if you have anything to say about this, if you're a witness out there, if you have relatives, are they making a big deal out of the King of the North? Go ahead, you're on with us. Go ahead.
Hey,
yeah,
Rick,
yes, go ahead.
This is Gilbert again, and hey, I did a video yesterday, and I talked about how that same screen that you have of Ukraine on JW.org, they quote Matthew 7, but I tell people, look, if you just go to Matthew 6 and 7, but if you go 6, all of these translations, Jesus says, and you will hear of wars and rumors of wars, and not be troubled, do not be frightened. Other translations say, do not be alarmed, do not be afraid. But Watchtower conveniently just shows you Matthew 7. They won't show you Matthew 6, where Jesus says, don't be afraid. And then I talked about how a Catholic priest told my brother that the Jehovah's Witnesses are ping pong religion. You see, in that screen, they jump you from Matthew to Revelation to Daniel, then they'll jump you to Ezekiel, and then they'll jump you to another. And here you're thinking that you're studying the Bible. All they did was have you read like 7, 8 different texts from different parts of the Bible. They have you jump around, and then they make you think, oh, well, we studied the Bible, so what we're saying must be true. It's like those guys in Brooklyn that are playing with a ball and saying, hey, can you find this ball? They just have you in a head spin. But going back to Matthew 6, this is Watchtower conveniently omitted verse 6 and only showed you verse 7. So if you ever get a chance, just look at Matthew 6 and 7. But then you'll see why Watchtower conveniently got rid of Matthew 6.
Well, no, that's a good point, Gilbert. I mean, I know you study this stuff, and you picked up on that, and it's a trick. The Watchtower does that stuff all the time.
Hey, Gilbert.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Hello. Hi, it's me, Apostate. I saw your video, and you were spot on. Spot on. It's all apocalyptic. It's all doomsday cult. Scare.
Yeah.
Armageddon's gonna hit tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah.
Linda, in this case, there really is a risk, though. In other times, they have exaggerated, but if you watch the Munich chats on C-SPAN with the world leaders, and if you watched the UN proceedings that were carried live on YouTube, the whole planet's in a boatload of trouble.
No, I agree with you, but it's an area that if we get too afraid, then we will be too easily led. So if we focus in on what you have control over.
Calm and carry
You know
on,
what I'm
as
saying?
they used to say in World War II. That's quite true today, too. There's a craft person I know said, calm and carry yarn.
Yeah. So in other words, the way the article was written, like Gilbert was saying, which is why I want to vote for him to be governing body, you know? Because Gilbert knows. He has his spiritual warfare going on. So, but the way he's right. It's just all Armageddon's going to hit, tribulation, you know, scare. When you're that scared, you become too, you forget things in your head, and you're very easily led and manipulated. So they keep you in that state on a constant basis, sometimes higher, sometimes lower. So this is the higher time. And you may be right, Pixie, but according to the Lord, it's been going to be the last days for the last 140 years. So, you know, it's not, I get that it's wise to pay attention to current events.
Apocalypse. I'm not expecting the 4 horsemen, but, you know, I am getting my canned soups in order.
Very smart. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all.
Hey, Apostate Babe, this is Rick Fearon coming in. I just want to say your phone is up very high. Last Saturday night, it was very. If you could turn that phone down, it would be a little bit better if you could do that, because I want to have you ready for your program tonight. See if you can turn it down a little bit, and I think it'll be a lot more clear. So I think you're pretty good now. Count to 5 for me.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
All right, that seems to be a little better. Yeah, a little better. Yeah, because it just comes through a little muffly. So that's good. Thank you for doing that. But I wanted to tell you before you get your program going tonight. Well, thank you for commenting.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, big.
Yeah, you definitely want to see Gilbert's video. Everybody, go check it out. Okay.
Well, Gilbert does. Yeah, go ahead.
Rick, I just want to say one last thing. I'll go Gilbert again. One thing I heard on the news is that all wars are bankers' wars, and the reason Russia is hated is because they are 100% debt-free of the United States dollar, and everybody knows that the United States government is bankrupt. And one of the problems when you look at, I guess Gary Kunkel was quoting Saddam Hussein, Gaddafi, all of these countries that were attacked by the United States, they all wanted to trade in their own currency. They wanted to trade without American dollars and American interference. America always wants to be the middleman of everything. So there's more to it. What's going on? This is a bank. In my opinion, this is a bankers' war. The bankers they're threatened by China and they're threatened by Russia, not militarily. They're threatened by them financially, because the gig is up. And so that's just my take on it. Do I think bad things are going to happen? Yeah, but like the comments earlier, hey, you prepare. In World War II, there were nuclear weapons being dropped. Cities and civilians were being bombed. Nothing like that is happening right now. And yet they're trying to equate that this is a lot worse than World War II. So again, it's just Watchtower is just always admitting facts and using the current events to scare you. So this is a great show. I'm sure some Jehovah's Witnesses are going to see this, and we're going to drop some seeds.
Well, good for you. Good. Well, good. Thank you. Good night to you too, Gilbert. Thank you very much for chiming in with us here tonight.
Hey, Rick.
Yes, go ahead.
Hey, it's Braden again. I was just thinking about that. You know, on the website, how it was just going back and forth and back and forth. It's like probably what's his name? Not Jeffrey Jackson. Okay, Anthony Morris. That's like, it sounds like the kind of decision making where he'd be like, do I go to Bottle King today, or where else can I get my thing on McAllen's?
Well, he has to make a decision, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Huh. All right.
So, yeah.
I don't worry about them at all, because they have Watchtower Farm and steak, and I can't afford steak right now. They've got their own stuff. They're going to be fine if we have shortages at the store, and they're going to be fine whatever happens up there in their little compound with the lake and all.
Oh yeah, they'll be living like kings, Pixie. You're right. Well, yeah, they.
I could. Sorry.
Oh,
I mean, I could just, for some strange reason, out on the lake at the Warwick facility, I could picture Anthony Morris in one of those European bathing suits, sitting on like one of those ringed floating devices, holding a bottle of what's his favorite kind of liquor?
A Macallan Scotch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that could be the case. I mean, they do live a high life. There's no question about it. I mean, it's a lot better than we live. I'm telling you that right now. They got it made in the shade.
Definitely.
Made in the shade. Well, thank you, Braden. Thank you very much for coming on. So when are the witnesses going to return to the Kingdom Hall? That's the question. That's the question so many Jehovah's Witnesses are asking. We going to go back to the Kingdom Hall? Will we ever go back? Well, what's going on? You guys have seen it this week. You saw what happened in the UK, didn't you? You must have. Well, Boris Johnson, well, he's the head of England, right? He said that, no more masks, no more COVID mandates, no, nothing to do with COVID. It's over, done, finished. Stick a fork in it. So they, they opened everything up: the restaurants, movie theaters, racetracks, baseball. Well, they don't play baseball over there, but I'm sure they play soccer. Everything's open. Everything is open in the UK, or at least in Britain. So they lifted the ban. But Jehovah's Witnesses could now return to the Kingdom Hall. But we haven't heard anything yet. I'm thinking that they're not going to go back. It'll be empty. A lot of the halls have been sold off. So this will mean when they do go back, the fewer halls that they still do have will appear full, and the global attrition will not be that obvious, right? It'll be less obvious. So I'm thinking that, geez, here we had the Super Bowl game 2 weeks ago, 70,000 people. Boris Johnson lifting all the bans on COVID in the United Kingdom, and at least Great Britain, not United Kingdom, but Great Britain. We also have, in this country, where I live, they're lifting bans. You don't have to wear masks. A lot of the kids don't have to wear masks. They're opening up movie theaters. They're playing baseball. Spring training is going to get going here shortly. No problems. COVID was a big deal last year. I mean, it hurt all the sporting events, but not this year. So what's going on? Why aren't the witnesses going back to the Kingdom Hall? All we're hearing is crickets. Nobody's talking. We don't hear anything from the governing body. Have you heard anything? I mean, do you have relatives that are witnesses? Are they saying anything? There's nothing being said. I don't think they want to. The governing body, they're scared to death to go back to the Kingdom Hall. I mentioned this to you the last few weeks. Why would you want to go back to the Kingdom Hall when really most witnesses don't want to go? I
think if they go back, it'll be for Memorial time in the spring, but I'm not going back until the 5th and never.
Well, you got it. But even the memorial they're saying is going to be virtual. So I'm not sure what position they're taking, but I really believe that the witnesses, the governing body, that is the Watchtower, I think that they're really now hoping the COVID would go a little longer, give them a little more time to sell off Kingdom Halls, give them a little more time to think how they're going to handle this. It is going to be embarrassing. No ands, ifs, or buts about it. People who do go back to the meeting, they're going to walk in. Where is everybody?
I really think a lot of people that were very devout and very stuck on the scheduling of it and in the routine of it, I think a lot of those people have gone PMO.
You're absolutely.
I think that whatever it would be of out, maybe they still have some of the mental dogma. But I think a lot of them, when they relaxed, they took off the tie, they took off the high heels, they started having dinner with their children. They didn't have to go out. They were told not to go out. I think the whole world has changed their idea of religion, worship, errands they run, errands they don't run. if they do go back, I think it'll be much less people.
Pixie, that you said something there just a couple of seconds ago that got my attention. The whole world is changing. People's habits are changing. People have been introduced to things that they were never introduced to before. This Zoom meeting, for example. I'm sure many witnesses are saying, hey, it's so much easier doing this. Let's stay with this. Shopping habits, work habits. A lot of people are working from home, not going into their office. So a lot of things have changed, even when it comes to religion, Pixie. I'm glad you brought that up, because religion seems to be really getting hit in the crossfires here. So many people are just abandoning the religious affiliations they have had. Many of the Catholic Church attendants, in certain areas, most areas around the world, are tanking. The Protestant church is tanking. And the witnesses are aware of all of this, and they're scared to death to open up the kingdom halls. They're going to get some people straggle in there. And then what you're going to have is you're going to have these witnesses coming in. Well, where's Sister Smith? Where's Brother Jones? Where's Brother Bookbag? I mean, all of these things are going to be asking.
If there's one good thing that's come out of the last 2-3 years of tragedy, misery, death, disease, and pain, it's that people are back at the kitchen table with their family. If they have a piano, their children are learning to play it. Some of the things that all of us agree were good, solid values, whatever religion we may or may not have, some of that family stuff is back.
Well, that's a good thing. That I like that. That's a positive statement. I find that even myself. I've been kind of cooped up here. I haven't been able to go out and do the things I used to do. I'm in the sign business. I sell signs, and during COVID, people weren't thinking about signs. And how are you going to sell a sign when you get a mask on? I mean, geez, you can't. How does salesmen even go to work? So I found myself here and doing more research. I found myself talking to my wife more. I found that, you can be comfortable just staying in. You don't have to be running all over town. So people's habits have changed, Pixie. It's interesting. Yes. Yes. Well, I mean, how about your habits? How about you guys out there? This is a good subject. I'd like to get your thoughts on it. Do you think anything has changed in your daily routine because of COVID? What do you think?
Rick?
Yes, go ahead.
Hello?
Hi, Roland.
Hi, Rick. Hi. Yeah, no, there's no kingdom halls open in England or Britain yet. They're still all closed. And actually, I went past one the other day, and it's a mess. The outside is actually a mess. Nobody's even been in to clean up the garden and the car lot, as you call it. It's all mossy, and it's just a complete I've never seen it so bad, to be honest with you. So it's so they're not coming back, and yet we've lifted every restriction in this country now. We're not wearing masks. There is just no restrictions, So there was no reason why we couldn't go back, but they just haven't. So they're probably too busy building the bomb shelters for Armageddon,
Well, that's good you chimed in, Roland, because now let me ask you, I got you on here. I mean, COVID was, big in England too. Did you change any of your habits? Did you find yourself doing things during COVID that you didn't do prior to? Anything different change for you?
Not really, no. I mean, we obviously we was locked in for quite a few months, and we couldn't go out. A lot of us couldn't work because we couldn't, we had to go out to our jobs. We couldn't do it at home, so a lot of us, lost a lot of work. But no, I mean, the church, my church particularly, was as soon as the restrictions were lifted and churches could open again, we opened. And even through the next lockdown, the government had said that churches could remain open, and we still carried on with our services and our meetings. And we had a mental health, Christian mental health meeting in the week in between. And that was actually during lockdown, because that was actually allowed. We was allowed to have a meeting with it being in mental health for somebody's mental well-being. So we actually managed to continue that anyway. So
So there's absolutely no reason why they couldn't be back at the Kingdom Halls, but they just don't seem to be interested, and I honestly don't think they're going to go back. You know, I was a bit surprised at first, but I honestly think now that they just don't want to go back. I think it's easier for them to do it on Zoom. You know, it's like you say, it's costing them less money and opening the halls up, and they're still getting the donations. And I think during the lockdown, actually, when we was locked down, a lot of them, you know, they've been in such a routine with going to meetings and stuff, they've never thought about anything different. And during the lockdown, of course, they didn't have that. They didn't have the stress of getting the kids ready for the meeting and getting all prepared and everything, you know. So I think it gave a lot of them the time to think. I mean, I hadn't been going to the meetings before lockdown, but certainly during the lockdown, I had more time to read, and that's when I decided I was going to hand my disassociation letter in. So, you know, yeah.
Oh, no. Well, thank you for chiming in. But, you know, I have to tell you that there's certainly the powers to be, the accountants at the Watchtower. I'm sure they're milling this all over. And what you just said there a few minutes ago is absolutely true. It's expensive to open a Kingdom Hall. You've got electricity, you've got phone bills. We got an anonymous call coming in here making noise. Did you want to?
Sorry, that was me. I was just waiting until you finished. Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead and bring it up right now, brother. Thank you, Roland, for coming in. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, thank you. All right, bye.
I was just about to say that my dad's an elder, and he doesn't really hide any of the things that he says to other elders when he's on the phone. When I'm around, he still babysits my son. And as far as I can hear, I think I have a theory, and that's that they get more meeting attendance when it's on Zoom, because there's literally no excuse that you can have to not attend the meeting when it's in your house on an iPad. And they're witnessing less because they're not meeting as often. And I think that's why, bringing back to what you said before about how they weren't saying that nice story on that that site, Theory 11 or whatever you said it was called, Theory 8, where they weren't posting any of the nice stories that were happening in Russia, because they, as far as my dad puts it, they sit better within being scared. As long as they know that they're being persecuted somewhere, the whole fact that they're not going back to meetings and they're not witnessing adds to all of that. So it adds to their faith that they're in the time of the end, if that makes sense.
Oh, it does make sense. Now, where are you calling? You calling in from England?
Australia.
Oh, Australia. Well, very good. Well, we're glad to have you with us tonight, brother. Thank you for checking in with us.
No worries. Thanks for being here for me to check into.
Well, thank you. Now, make sure you get our app, because I don't want you to have to pay to come in. You can get an app. You can call them for free.
Oh, I'm calling them for free anyway. I worked out a way of doing that from Australia.
Okay. All right. Good. Thank you. Thank you for chiming in. Appreciate it. Well, there you go. I mean, Australia, United Kingdom, they're coming in tonight talking. So that's good. So we got an international call going on here, friends. And I think it's good. We're connecting with people all over the world that have been touched by the tentacles of the Watchtower. I was going to say that it plays into their way of thinking. It plays into their way of thinking to just kind of keep people hanging, not going back to the meetings. It gives them a little more time to think what they're going to do. But, you know, look at the money they could make by selling the Kingdom Halls off. And as that brother just said, have people come in on Zoom. And, it's really not costly for them to do that. At the same time, they'll give donations. And you think, because even when you do open a Kingdom Hall, it costs money. It costs money, even though you don't realize it. I mean, you get electric bill, you get a phone bill, you got heat you got to worry about, you get maintenance products that you got to buy to keep it up. So it's going to save money in the long run. So if I was a big wheel at the Watchtower, I'd say, hey, look, we're better off doing what we are. Plus, we got the movie studio being built. And, we're just going to get people coming in that way as well. So toodaloo on those that leave. We don't care. We'll get new ones coming in through our new JW broadcasting. That's probably what they're thinking. I'll tell you, they're an evil organization. They really, really are. But so that's my feelings. I don't think they're going back. I really don't think you'll ever see meetings again. But they're talking about the convention They're talking about the convention, and it's going to be virtual once again. It looks that way. Nobody's saying it's going to be, an arena. It's going to looks like it's going to all be online, and they have a theme. The witnesses have a theme for the 2022 regional convention, and the theme they'll be working with this year is pursue peace. Pursue peace. Now, can you imagine the Jehovah's Witness chatter over that? Oh my goodness. At least what we see now with a war starting in Russia and Ukraine, pursue peace. I mean, that is going to be food at the proper time, right? Geez, what a great theme for a convention, especially now what's going on.
I'm frustrated with it already, the grammar of it, sir.
Yeah.
Peace is something that is in the moment. Peace is something that's in the present. Peace is whatever the dictionary definition says, the calm. Be still and know in the scripture that I am God, it says. So they're pursuing peace?
Well, that's what the title.
Does anybody see the grammar problem?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I see that. I see the point you're making. But of course, the other.
You just need to be present and be sitting there in prayer or whatever, or having a cup of tea. They're always trying to make us work for something, even peace.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is going to feed right into their narrative. Faithful and discreet slave. They've been talking about Russia as the king of the North and the actions that took place this week. It makes this pursue peace theme come right into play. They're going to be saying, get your go bags ready. I mean, this is where.
They're right on that one.
Get your go.
I'm just going to be sitting at my table with some fresh Parmesan and some pasta here. And well, once you get that fresh Parm, you don't go back to that other can. But that little jar sits on the shelf real well. So get both kinds.
Well, you got it. You got it. So, I mean, I don't know if you're going to pack. I don't know if you're going to pack any Parmesan cheese in your go bag, but they want you to get it ready. They want you to get the bunkers ready in your basements. Make sure you're fully stocked with publications. So when you give directions, you can also give magazines out as well. Now, one thing.
I think those magazines might work as paper towels.
Well, yeah, no, that's true. They can be good paper towels and other things I can think you can do with paper too. There's other things too.
Yeah. I think that'll work for that.
So the other thing too, if you do go back to the meetings, I just wanted to say this. Now with all this fear-mongering and the king of the North, king of the South, and all of this, get back to the meetings. They're getting a lot of attention. They're going to get a lot of people on Zoom, or even if they do open the Kingdom Halls, they're going to get people to come back. And I mean, not all of people are going to come back. You'll get some, but you can imagine. I'm going to tell you right now, if the Kingdom Halls open, or on Zoom, after all of this hoop-de-dar about the king of the North, the king of the South, the Russian war, anyone just tuning in to witnesses and coming back that have left for a while, they are going to be warmly welcomed. Oh, I'll tell you, they are going to be love-bombed like people have never been love-bombed before. They're going to be so happy to see new ones coming in because of all of the turmoil that's going on in the world. So, I'll tell you what, these conventions, though, Pursue Peace Convention, Regional Convention for 2022, I'm going to tell you what, it's pretty insane to have to. Now, here's what they do. If you're a Jehovah's Witness, you say, well, how can I get to the conventions if we're not in an arena? How do we do it on Zoom? I'll tell you, they have got the witnesses really taken a lot of time out of their summer. Here's how they do it. So they're going to have, we used to go to the conventions. It was a 3-day event, right? Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's when we had the convention, 3-day event. So they have all of these talks. They still basically have a 3-day event, but it's online. But they don't want you to watch it all at once. So what they're doing, and I think it's pretty insane that the Watchtower does this, they're spreading it across 6 weeks in the summer. You watch a little bit one week, a little bit the next week. That is tying up every weekend of the summer with a stupid regional convention. Now, put that one in your pipe and smoke it. That's hard to take. Why don't you just do it 1 week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, over, done, finished. I'm going on vacation. See you later. But they're tying up the witnesses for 6 weeks in a row. They got to get in there.
I read.
Yes.
Hi, Rick. Yeah, just remind me, my friend, she lives next door to a Jehovah's Witness that I used to know in my own old congregation. And when she watched the convention on Zoom the last time, she actually got dressed up in a meeting dress and did herself up, well, in the, like she would for going to a proper convention. And she was to actually watch it in her own living room. And there was encouraged to put the badges on as well. And if they went out, they could say they'd been to a convention. Well, I mean, I can just imagine going into a restaurant or something, where have you been? I've been to a convention. Where? Well, in my own living room. I mean, how stupid does that sound? I mean, but they do. They get dressed up to actually watch it on Zoom, and I mean, nobody can see them. I mean,
They do that here too. They do that here too. I feel so free to have to paint my face every day. I'm not painting my face for Zoom. They've got people on the Zoom meeting with ties on and party dresses and everything.
I know, it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. I mean, that's just brainwashing to the full, because even as a Jehovah's Witness, I wouldn't have done that. There is absolutely no way I'd put my suit and tie on just to watch a convention that nobody can actually see me. I can only see that. I mean, why would you get, you're entering in front of Jehovah, treat it like a king. Yeah. But what about when I pray in the middle of the night? Do I get up and put my my suit on and my meeting stuff on just to pray to him? Because I'm still entering in front of Jehovah then. I mean, how far do they go? I mean, it's just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Sorry, I rant over.
well, no, Roller, you're absolutely right. I mean,
Brother, you made a brilliant point. And doing hospital work, that's exactly what came to my mind, that the Most High God loves us no matter where we are and in what condition we are in, from the moment we're born until after we die. Absolutely true.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, there you go. Thank you, Roland, for checking in with us. I'm seeing an organization here that is completely gone insane, really. But, they pull it off. And I think they really at times think the witnesses are like little sixth graders. They more or less throw anything out at the world of the witnesses, and they all follow forth with it. They don't challenge it at all. It just, when it comes to even watching the convention on Zoom, putting your badge on, like Pixie says, the women have to put some makeup on, the men have to wear a tie. That is all crazy stuff. It's control. But at the same time, the Watchtower is laughing at you. They really are. They're laughing at you. They're laughing all the way to the bank. People are making donations. They're not renting out arenas. Not to rent an arena, it costs a lot of money, thousands of dollars a weekend. So look at the money they're saving right there. Plus, it gets you sitting in your own house, donating money to them online. So they don't lose. The Watchtower does not lose. And they can change all of their policies, their procedures. They can change their doctrine. And I came across something, too, that I thought would be worth mentioning here tonight. It has to do with the Watchtower. I believe they're changing their view on baptism. I really, really do. I mean, at one time when you were one of Jehovah's Witnesses, the key to the kingdom, the way that you were going to get into paradise earth or the new world, is you had to be a baptized witness, right? Well, I mean, you still have to be a baptized witness, but it appears as though baptism isn't enough anymore. In other words, a baptized witness, before it used to be a shoe-in. Oh, you're baptized, that's good, just keep your nose clean and you're in. But now there seems to be more requirements. There seems to be more stipulations, if you would. In order to get into paradise earth, you've got to be doing more things. You've got to be promoting more of Jehovah's Witness.org website in your ministry. You got to be promoting big time, writing letters. You've got to be selling magazines by, at least, in fact, most of them aren't even being sold anymore. They're being bought by the witnesses and sent out to people in their neighborhood at no charge. They're not getting money from the people in the neighborhood, but the witnesses are buying the magazines. And then there's a big call today to donate more money. Yes, donate more money to the organization. Otherwise, Jehovah will kill you. Basically, that's what they're saying. So the new light has been coming forth. There are more requirements now that we had the COVID virus that must be met. Yeah, even the Watchtower more or less suggesting, the governing body suggesting you have to get the COVID shot. Now, that doesn't, I'm not going to say that's a requirement, but most witnesses are getting it. And then if you don't get that shot, you're going to be looked at as being weak. So, could that keep you out of the kingdom? Well, there's some people that would think that. Geez, I better get the shot, or if I don't get it, I might not be able to get into paradise earth. Now, they want you to attend the Zoom meeting, but the Zoom meeting is not enough. You have to have the camera on, and you have to be there. And then they want you writing letters together, and you do it on Zoom, and you write it to people in your neighborhood. They want you to raise your hand at these Zoom meetings. They're encouraging you to be even an auxiliary or regular pioneer. And even the hours have been reduced, making it easier for you to do that. They want you to continue to donate money as well, as we say. So it's being more and more emphasized that if you don't support the governing body, Christ brothers, as they say, you won't survive Armageddon. That seems to be the message. That seems to be the message.
They have all that in the first century church. I think Christ's brother was James.
Yeah, that's right. Well, the governing body is known also as Christ brothers, Pixie. So, yeah, I find that fascinating. Baptism was one thing, but now you have a lot of, I'm not going to say it's changed. You still have to be baptized, but they're adding a lot more requirements onto what you have to do as a baptized person. So I find that kind of interesting. But another thing that caught my fancy, I'm going to put a picture up. If you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, you'll see the picture. It has to do, well, this took place, I believe it was in Norway. Jehovah's Witnesses sell a Kingdom Hall to the Baptist. Yeah, they sell it to the Baptist, and then the brother is actually laughing about it. Let me just put a picture up here so you can see it. I want you to see this picture. It's an elder, and then it shows the pastor of the church. Let's put it up there so you can see it. So I believe you're seeing this right now. If you're on our stream, you can see that. So what you've got here, let me just make sure. It's supposed to be on there. I think it is. So yeah, we have a picture there. Jehovah's Witnesses sell a Kingdom Hall to the Baptist. It shows a picture of the Baptist pastor. Then it shows a picture of the elder. So we have an elder there that's smiling as he hands the king. He's handing the keys over. I'm just going to have to mute someone here for a second. Hold on. So what we've got is the pastor is getting the keys from the elder. The elder's smiling that he's getting the Kingdom Hall. Now, do you find anything wrong with that? Do you find something wrong with that? An elder handing the Kingdom Hall over to a Baptist preacher and smiling? I find something very, very odd with that. It's something that I don't think is right. We've mentioned it a number of times on here, how many churches are being sold off to various, how many Kingdom Halls, that is, are being sold off to churches, Muslim mosques, and what have you. And the witnesses don't seem to have any problem with that. But, I have a problem with it. Do we want someone to come in right now? We got a bunch of people who want to come in here. So if you'd like to come in, go ahead.
I'll go. This is Chewy.
Yeah, Chewy.
Well, they've been doing that for years. They've been doing that ever since in the 70s. The two old halls that we down here that have, they're now, one of them's a Korean church and the other one's something else. It's changed hands 2 or 3 times. They did the same thing down in all these other towns. But I just cannot picture, when you think about it, in a reasonable manner, I cannot think of Jesus handing the keys to one of their halls to Caiaphas. I just can't. I can't picture him having a smile on his face. I just can't picture that. I don't think he would do that.
Yeah, no, he wouldn't. It's very, very interesting to see that. And there's the picture. It's just something wrong with that. That was a house of Jehovah. And go ahead. You're on with us. Who wants to speak up? We got.
Hey, Rick.
Hey,
Go ahead. We'll go with Dick first. Go ahead, Dick.
Yeah, thank you, Rick. I started my life as a Jehovah's Witness in the Dracut Kingdom Hall, and that's on Mammoth Road in Dracut. Me and my dad surveyed the property for that building, and that building was dedicated to Jehovah God, and it was dedicated by an anointed brother from the governing body came. And now that Kingdom Hall has a crucifix on it. And we all know how the Watchtower says that Jesus died on the porch of stake, and that Christendom is from Satan the devil, and everything that is in Christendom is from Satan. And here they've turned over a building that we financed, and we broke our humps building that building, and now they've turned it over to Christendom. I can't think of anything more hypocritical than that. Thanks, Rick.
Well, thank you, Dick. Oh, it is hypocritical. Go ahead. We got. Go ahead. Come on in. We got. Yeah. Go ahead.
I have a similar story.
Oh, hold on, Pixie. We got. We hold on, Pixie.
Before you sell it, they're selling these. They're not taking the blessing off of them, which is odd. But in the Bible, Jesus said, "My temple's not made with hands."
Oh, there you go. All right, Pixie. Thank you. We've got. It looks like Arizona. Go ahead, Arizona. You're on with us.
Yeah, Rick, I'm sorry, man. I had to come back in time when I saw that picture. It's Gilbert. Listen, I talked about this too. If this is imagine if Bank of America would have done that. Imagine if Bank of America, Wells Fargo would have lent you money, charged you interest, you paid off the loan, and then they take the property from you. Total banking scam. But this picture here of the elder and the Baptist, in Yuma, Arizona, I talked about how we have a kingdom hall that it could easily fit about 30 of small apartments for the elderly Jehovah's Witnesses who are very poor and who are like 4 or 5 of them live together in a very poor part of town because they don't have the financial resources and they're still waiting for the end. So could you imagine all of these people on Social Security and you get collectively their money, you build them a nice little place at the Kingdom Hall because they served their whole life serving Jehovah. But no, they don't even do that. And the reason why is because you see that Baptist guy right there in the picture? He went to college, a university for the church, and what they teach you there is how to incorporate and all the legal aspects of a church. Well, the elder on the Jehovah's Witness side is completely clueless as to the laws. So what happens is Watchtower has all of these corporations in every little city because they're part of a maintenance fund. But Watchtower writes the paper, the documents. The elders just sign wherever they're told to sign, and they completely. And they're stooges for Watchtower, and that's what if you type in Menlo Park in California, that's what it's all about. It's a group of elders who says, no, we understand the corporation laws. You can't just disfellowship elders just for the sake of bringing in new kids, so that way you can transfer the property. In California, that's illegal. See, this Baptist understands that. He knows how to write the laws in a way where he's going to have full control of the property. Not the mother corporation. The elder doesn't understand that. He never went to school, and so this is a classic example of these two people. The elder Jehovah's Witness didn't go to school, and he forfeits the whole property to Watchtower, New York. The Baptist went to school, and he's going to keep that property in his name, in his city, and with his local congregation. So it's just a shame that the properties cannot be used on a local level to take care of the elderly. It is just so sad.
Well, it is sad. It's a good point. That's a mouthful. Thank you, Gilbert. Thank you. Okay, we've got some more. Anyone else want to comment on that at all? Yeah.
Hey, Rick, I remember I know I mentioned this to you a while ago about I'm in New York, as you well know, and I live in Queens, and I remember in the 70s they purchased the Bliss in Long Island City. We used to have our circuit assembly at the Bliss theater or whatever, but for just 1 or 2 times they switched us over to some new property they purchased in Manhattan, an old Jewish synagogue. And I remember when I first called in about this, Zach, when he was in Bethel, he even said that he remembered meeting there too. It was an old Jewish synagogue. They didn't even like refurbish it. It had like the pews, the same thing. They didn't do anything. They just had us meeting there. For some reason, they moved people, the brothers and sisters from Queens had to go to Manhattan for this once or twice, and then we went back to Bliss, to this Jewish synagogue that they purchased. And I remember for us, it was in the 70s. So no, they've been purchasing they preach about, oh, Jehovah's Witness, and with their pompous attitude, like, oh, Christendom is going to die. But they purchased this old Jewish synagogue, and I'm sure it's not the only one. For, chairs, anything. It was just like, one day the Jewish, synagogue said, oh, we're closing down. Next week, the JEHOVAH'S was in there. They didn't change anything.
Well, there you go. That's the truth, isn't it? Yes. Thank you, Shirley. Thank you. All right. Well, that's Shirley. It's calling in from New York. All right. We've got another caller coming in from, looks like the UK. You want to come in? Go ahead, sir. Did you want to speak up? You're on with us. All right. Well, go ahead, Dick. I think you're on with us. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's all about the almighty dollar with the Watchtower. It's been that way for a century. They turn around and they make $2 billion off of the property they sold in Brooklyn. Then they lay off Jehovah's Witnesses who's been working at Bethel for 50, 60 years, and they don't give them a dime. It is unbelievable. They sell off Kingdom Halls, and they turn around and they put that money in their pocket. This is a money-grubbing organization. They don't care about people. They care about money. That's it. Thanks, Rick.
Well, amen to that, Dick. And, another thing that really gets me ticked off here, too, as I see the elder handing the keys off to the Baptist pastor, what gets me ticked off here is I got a story that, I'm going to share with you that gets me thinking a lot about this. There's a young man, he was a young elder, in fact, and he was a hardworking elder. He loved work. He had his own landscaping business, and he actually got a contract with the Methodist Church in town. So he was cutting the lawn and taking care of the Methodist Church land. And the other elders said he shouldn't be doing that because, it's a church and that should be bothering his conscience to do business with the church. So they kept rattling him about it and telling him it was wrong that he was doing landscaping work for the Methodist Church. So he basically had to give up. Not basically, he did. He gave up the job of cutting grass at the church, and he had that client for over 10 years. But the other elders kept saying, well, you shouldn't be doing this, shouldn't be doing it. So he lost a lot of income, but yet they can sell a church off to the Baptist Church. Isn't this kind of like the same thing? It's why would they make the brother? I mean, you guys are getting the story right. The same thing with me when I lived in Florida. And, I was in the sign business. I'm still in the sign business. And I was approached by the church, the Baptist Church, where I lived in Florida, to letter they had a bus. And I had a company that's what I did. I lettered buses and vehicles and all of that stuff. So they wanted me to put lettering on the Baptist Church bus. So, geez, I needed the money. I had 5 children at the time. I'm trying to make a living. So I'm saying, fine, I'll put it on. It didn't bother my conscience one bit. I didn't knock on their door. They knocked on my door. and they wanted to get a bus letter. So what am I supposed to say? Oh, no, I can't letter the bus. I can't put lettering on there because I'm a Jehovah's Witness. I mean, that's going to go over well, right? So I did it, but I had to do it in secrecy. Geez, if I ever told the witnesses that I lettered, they would have disfellowshipped me. I'm serious. But yet at the same time, they're handing kingdom halls over to churches. That's not sensible. Go ahead, Chewy. You're on with us.
They had one case here years ago, back in the 80s. And I was pioneering at the time, and I got a riffing job by a brother, and another brother to go out on the military base and do riffing for them. And the elder said, "No, you're pioneering. You can't do that. You're a servant. They can do it, but you can't." I was like, "What? Why?" He says, "Oh," and then he used the scripture. "Oh, once you receive privileges, more would be required of you. You can't do that." Then there was then one of the elders down here too, years ago, still working janitorial, don't have any retirement, I'm sure. They told him that this was out on the military base, and one of them was a bank, and one of them was a Burger King. And they said, "No, you can't do it." And it's that night. It was that night. There would be no notoriety to it. They told him no. I went, whatever. They're a bunch of deal weeds.
Well, how much of one's income has been lost because of being one of Jehovah's Witnesses? There's certain jobs you couldn't take because it would have been considered worldly. I know at one time they actually had a Watchtower article back in the 90s. There was even saying if you worked in a store where you had to hand cigarettes to people. Suppose you were a cashier at I don't know, maybe Kroger or something, and you're a cashier and someone says, "Hey, I'll take a pack of Marlboro." They were making it seem like if you gave them the cigarettes, they said you could do it. They weren't sanctioning that was a good thing to do. They said if you handed the cigarettes to someone as a cashier, that would be okay. But if you were the manager and you were the one that was ordering the cigarettes into the store, then that wouldn't be okay. But what is the difference? Why do you have to split hairs like that? Geez, a lot of witnesses landed up in poverty because of the
I think they do that to drive people literally to a mental illness condition.
Well,
I really do, because they get so Amish on everything. Like you couldn't touch the cigarettes to give them to a customer, or a McDonald's on a base is not a military thing. It's a McDonald's. So you know what Jesus would say? He'd say they choke at the gnat to swallow the camel.
Well, exactly right. And Pixie, I have to tell you something. I almost went crazy being one of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Exactly. It will drive you to the nut house in the station wagon.
Yeah, because what it does is it messes your mind up. You always feel guilty because you're doing things that aren't even bad. Your head is making up stories that, geez, will Jehovah like me because I did this? Really, you could go crazy. My conscience was running crazily wild. I mean, it was all over the map.
They must want a bunch of uneducated, crazy people as followers. It must be some kind of test or special secret crazy program, because it's like if somebody brought you a coffee mug at your work. Well, can I accept the $2 coffee mug? Oh my goodness! God forbid that you get a pink coffee mug at a Christmas party.
Yeah, I mean, it was the little things. There's little things that would drive me crazy. I'd get in my car and I'd drive down the road, and if I didn't put my seatbelt on, I'd say, "Geez, maybe I'm breaking the law. That's not good. I don't want to get stopped and get a ticket, and Jehovah wouldn't like that." Silly things like that. I mean, I'm not saying not wear your seatbelt.
This whole other law that isn't even law, because we're not under the law according to the Christ, but they're giving us all these little Deuteronomy things that we can't do and can do. I am so glad I have a strong mind, because I have seen people with lesser strength go absolutely round the bend. I mean, there are people that have ended up in the nut house from this religion.
Oh,
We don't talk about that.
Oh,
we talk about the sad deaths from the lack of blood transfusions and the suicides of the closeted gay members or something, but we don't talk about the rank and file that end up in the nut house.
No, everything was bothering me as a witness, every little thing. So one day what I decided to do is I took my conscience, my Jehovah's Witness conscience, out to lunch, and I shot it because it was stupid. It did.
I'm telling you, they want us all to drink a cup of stupid. They really do.
And we went along with it all, everything. Who wants to talk about that? Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to talk about when I see them turning those keys over. Man, I used to go work on those quick bills, and people donated a lot of material and time. But even before that, before the quick bills, we used to work on Kingdom Halls. The congregation would save up their money for a long time and buy some property, and it'd take months to build a Kingdom Hall. So they'd have something close to go, a Kingdom Hall close by to go to. Now they sell them all, and people are traveling an hour away to go to a Kingdom Hall because they sold it.
Yeah, what good is that doing them? How is that showing love to the brothers and sisters? It's not. Thank you, brother. Thank you for calling in. Yeah, so our conscience will run ragged. We couldn't do a lot of things. Yes, go ahead, Toronto.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
As I usually do at this point in the show, and come in with my my joke of the night. I've got a joke for you. I think you might like this one.
All right.
How do you surprise a blind guy?
Well, I would think it could surprise a blind guy by taking away his cane.
No. Leave the plunger in the toilet.
Well, more toilet humor. More toilet humor.
Okay, that one was yes.
I got. Yeah, it's a little cruel, but it's okay. At least it's clean. Toilet humor can be clean. You know, it's okay. Yeah, it's okay. Well, thank you, Braden. Well, listen, we're going to get you on Apostate's Got Talent. That's what we're going to get you on.
I will. Like I said, I will. And you know what? The other day, Rick, I ran out of toilet paper, so I had to start using lettuce leaves. Today was the tip of the iceberg.
Well, we'll get you on the program. I think it'll be good to hear your comedy lines. Good, thank you, Braden.
At least it wasn't poison ivy.
Yeah, poison ivy could be worse. Absolutely.
All right.
Good.
Good, guys.
All right. That's Braden up there in Toronto. Yes, Daniel.
You know, I'm just getting on here tonight, but with this whole Russian invasion of Ukraine, my daughter, I spoke to her last night, and she was just like freaking out. She's like, "Dad, this is the beginning of Armageddon. You got to get right with Jehovah." And I said, "I'm okay, sweetie. I still believe, and for her sake, I use the name Jehovah. You know, as meaning we didn't leave God behind just because we're out of the organization. I still try to give her that peace of mind." But she goes, "You know what encourages me is First Chronicles 2:17, and I believe that talks about the salvation of Jehovah or something in there." But so I encouraged her to stay. That was good. Is basically what I was saying. Is reading the Bible. You know, that's the one positive I can give her out of life is reading the Bible without saying support the Watchtower, because the Watchtower and the Bible have nothing to do with each other. You know what I'm saying?
I got you. Yes. Well, see, they're talking about it. Your daughter's bringing that up, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're talking about it in the Kingdom Halls all over the place. They're making a really big deal. This to them is the best news they hear when they
Your daughter needs to know that there were 2 world wars in that region before, and she's probably not encouraged to study world history, but we had a map of World War I and a map of World War II in that same region. So that's always been a troubled region. And maybe that'll make her a little more comfortable knowing that those people have been through a lot, and it may or may not come to the town she lives in.
Well, that's
later, because Rick shows on, and I don't want to take up a lot of time, but later on tonight, I'll come on and share what I shared with her today. It's a little more time consuming, so I don't want to interrupt your show, Rick. And I know you got stuff to talk about, but I just wanted to throw that out there. But I'll come on later tonight and share what I shared more with her today.
Well, there you go. Well, that's good, Daniel. We'll love to hear it. Yeah, so that's great. So we're going to come on Apostate Babes program, right? Yeah, that's good. All right. She'll be coming on later on tonight around midnight. We got Reese coming up next. Reese coming up from the belly of the beast. He'll be on here in about 10, 15 minutes. So by all means, stay with us. I'm just looking at the video suite here. And, I see a lot of stuff being said, and I can't read it all the time. But someone's writing in there that Vladimir Putin has always been praised on the 6 screens. I don't know if you could use the word praise, Zachary, but I would use the word that I feel Putin did a good thing by banning the Jehovah's Witnesses. I think any country that would ban the Jehovah's Witnesses is a good thing, whether it's Vladimir Putin or anyone. I'd love to see Biden ban the Jehovah's Witnesses.
I think he's a tin pot dictator that thinks he's the king of the North with that huge table.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not that I'm praising. I'm not praising him.
And his own people have been in the streets not praising him.
Yeah, no, I'm not praising him, but I do give him credit for banning the witnesses. They deserve to be banned. Yes. Okay. All right. So anyways, let's look here what's going on. I mean, how about you guys?
Yeah, Mr. Fearon?
Yes, Ken.
Yeah. I just want to make a quick comment there. There's been a lot of comments on how the churches were at odds, with the Watchtower. And of course, that needs no introduction. You've read countless articles of the Watchtower criticizing the other churches. Well, my personal experience in the area when the Watchtower was coming over to my place and so forth, the discussions would come up about other churches. And my information, according to my information, they were really locking horns with the Baptist Church and some other churches too and all that, back and forth. And that's been brought out, in a similar vein on the programs. But now they're turning around and they're selling one of their kingdom halls to the Baptist Church and so forth, and getting a big price, getting paid for it and all that. Man, I wonder why the change of heart and so forth. I mean, if I was locking horns with somebody, that bad like they used to do in there, I don't think I would do any business with them. So I guess it goes to show you there that they're just a greedy commercialist organization.
I think they've been totally rebranded. They don't have the fighting spirit they used to in terms of that. When I was growing up, they said it wouldn't matter if they sold it to be a dental office, and I was really offended as a kid because I come from a place where we have battlefields and churches and things, and I kind of think there are sacred spaces in the world, but they tried to dissuade me on that idea.
Rick, this is Zachary.
Oh, yes, Zachary.
Rick, hi. I just came on because you read this statement that I typed, and you didn't read it accurately, and then you said my name, so I just want to read it. It simply says, let's talk truth. Vladimir Putin has been praised on 6 screens for at least the past 4 years, and then I said in the next statement, praised by certain ones. That's all. It's not a judgment, it's just truth. And you even said as much.
Oh, yeah,
right
no.
After you read it out. Let me I wanted to talk also about the King of the North and the King of the South.
Sure.
Yeah, that's so timely, because I didn't even think about that until you said it tonight. You started talking about the King of the North. That's one of the big things with the witnesses, right? The book of Daniel, and I think the Your Will Be Done book was one of the ones that discussed it. And then they've had it in Watchtower studies. And then when the Soviet Union kind of fell apart, the big question became, who's the King of the North? What's the King of the North going to be? And then September the 11th, 2001 happened. And in the aftermath of that, the question started to be, who's the King of the North? Is the King of the North those countries over some of the countries in the Middle East? That's the witnesses were asking. And now with this happening, I didn't even think about it, but I guess they would be saying, bringing up the King of the North discussion again.
Well, they're doing it. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to make a big deal out of it, too. They're going to really milk it for all it's worth. Yes. Well, thank you, Zach. Thank you for coming in. Listen, I'm on your side. I appreciate your comments. I always do. You know that. Thank you.
And I just wanted to help you be accurate with what I typed in.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well,
Hey, Rick?
yes.
Yeah, Dan. Yeah, I've just been listening in, me and Angela, and I just wanted to say, this news they get, if people could see it like we see it, that I mean, this sounds extreme, but this bad news to them, they're more excited than the news people to start posting the shit. You know what I mean? It's like a line of coke to these guys. I mean, they're going to get higher than a kite, happier than hell. They're going to make a lot of money because they're getting their dope because they got bad news, and then they're going to take that dope, which is fear, and put it in their magazines and all over JW.org and feed and give the people their shot of dope. And I mean, it's a win-win for them, just like you said earlier. And I wanted to make a comment too on the Kingdom Halls. I wonder, Rick, I was talking to a Jehovah's Witness about the Kingdom Halls, and she was like trying to reason with me, and she was like, come on, they're buildings, she said. They're selling a building. And so my question is this: if they're selling a large majority of them to the churches, which they are, everywhere you go, they're selling them to churches, what I'm thinking might be good news is that the witnesses will be able to go to a Christian wedding in one of those former Kingdom Halls, because now they're just buildings. You know what I mean?
Well, no, that's an interesting thought. It's you look at all the angles and you got to examine that one. That's appropriate.
Yeah, so it's just interesting. It's a building when they're selling it. It's just a building. It's just property, and yet now it's a holy place. I mean, it's Babylon the Great. When you walk in for a sacred thing like your daughter's wedding or your son's wedding, I mean, I just wonder if they'll change that policy.
But it's still a dedicated building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it, Rick.
All right. Well, that's good. That's good. That's a good comment. Thank you, Dan, for checking in with us. Well, anyways, we got Reese coming in from the belly of the beast. He'll be coming in here very shortly. But I just want to remind everyone that, I got time for, why don't we take a couple more calls? And I want to remind everybody what's going on here tomorrow and Sunday. So go ahead. We have got, it looks like Nebraska. Go ahead.
Hey, this is Debbie.
Yes, Debbie.
And this question is kind of irrelevant, but I was just curious. When you were talking about the brother that was cutting grass and doing landscaping at a church, did you say that happened in Memphis?
No, I said it happened. Actually, it was in the Midwest. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering because my dad had it was called Yard Maintenance and Service Company, and it turned it into a major company, but they had several contracts with churches to do all of their yard maintenance and landscaping and all that kind of stuff. And he was also an elder, but he was also brought before the elders and told that he had to give up all those contracts, which was a large portion of his income. Plus, he had two other brothers who were partners. All three of them were elders, and all three of them were brought before the elders because some of their business was with churches, and they were given so many days to quit those, and if they didn't, they would have been disciplined severely. And they also only had a couple of brothers employed with them full time that they paid really good money to, and this was way back in the 70s. And but I was just wondering, because that's what happened to my dad.
Well,
with his company.
It happened to a lot of people. Thank you, Debbie, for chiming in. No, it happened to a lot of people. I'm sure, especially in the landscaping business, plumbing business, the trades mostly don't do business with the churches, but we can sell a Kingdom Hall to a church, but don't you do business with them. Doesn't make any sense.
I had a question.
Go ahead. We got about 1 minute, then I get some announcements to make. Go ahead.
Okay. The witnesses do you know about how many witnesses are in Ukraine? And
yeah,
are they trying to get out now, or did the society advise them? I mean, everybody's known this war is gonna happen. Did they advise them to get out earlier?
I know they haven't.
I saw a couple reports. Where they're not letting the men out, like under 60, between 16 and 60 or something. They're not letting them out of the country.
Yeah,
so how are they going to hide in bunkers?
Well, there's 100.
What are they going to do if they get stuck there?
Well, from what I understand, there's 128,000 Jehovah's Witnesses in Ukraine. Now, the situation is with men, like you just mentioned, all men, young and old, being drafted into the military. They're going to have to bear arms. They'll give them guns and what have you that they're going to need to defend themselves. So this is going to create a real issue. We didn't get into it tonight, but it's going to create a real issue for the Jehovah's Witnesses. But from what I understand, they're not being advised. I haven't read anything on jw.org. I haven't got any information coming into the 6 screens that they're being told to get out of there. So they're going to look at the witnesses want to see persecution on their people. They're going to make a big deal out of it. So the more Ukrainians that are persecuted, oh, look at this, they're persecuting our people. So they're not out for the people. They're out for themselves. Thank you, Rob, for coming in tonight. Thank you very much. All right. Okay. We have time for one more. 190 area. 190 area. You want to say something?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to mention, kind of circle back to the Zoom meetings, and with the gas prices going up, with this Russian thing and our gas going up, how are they going to afford to drive 40 miles to another Kingdom Hall that theirs has been shut down?
Well, sister,
this is going to impact them financially.
Oh yeah, especially with gasoline going to $5 a gallon. It's gonna. I don't think they're gonna open them, sister. I really don't. I don't. But it's a real mess right now. It really is. The Watchtower is better off right now to just let it lay loose. Witnesses don't want to go back anyways, for the most part. Like you say, it's going to cost you a lot. Who likes putting gas in your car, going, drive 45 minutes away? It's going to be very expensive. Well, thank you, sister, for calling in. I don't think I've heard you on here before, have I?
Yes, I called in before, but it's 40 minutes each way, so that's like 80 minutes.
Oh yeah, 80 minutes. I mean,
driving on the road. So that's over an hour. They're
yeah,
going to be putting on their vehicle.
Well, that right there. If you're getting say 20 miles a gallon, it's going to cost you $15 round trip.
Twice a week.
Yeah, 50, so $30-$40 a week just to travel to the Kingdom Hall. Yeah.
I know, it's outrageous.
Yeah, well, it is, but
I feel for those that are older that don't want to drive in the dark and in the winter and pay that money for gasoline, whatever. They could, stay home and not go at all.
Well, there you go. I mean, you're sensible. You ought to be on the governing body. At least you're making sense to us. Yes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank
you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, sister. All right, now listen. Now what we've got, I'm wondering, is Reese out there? Is Reese out there from the belly of the beast? If you are, Reese, just say hello to me. Reese from the belly of the beast. Are you on with us tonight, Reese? Well, he was going to be coming on here. Hit *6, Reese, if you're there. He emailed me today. He said he'd be coming on. So I'm not sure what's happening, but we'll give him a few minutes here. He might be running a little late, but he had some issues last week. He was going to, I guess, talk to us about that. But last time he's to be on. But looking for Reese. I don't see him coming on tonight. But anyways, I wanted to just say what's coming up tomorrow on 6 Screen Sunday. My goodness, you don't want to miss it. We don't talk about spiritual things on Saturday night. I know it doesn't work. I know a lot of people leaving the Watchtower, they've been so spiritually abused that they don't want to talk about spiritual things. Well, I'm a Christian man. I'm not ashamed of that. But as I always tell you, I won't preach to you on Saturday night because I understand how you feel getting out of the Watchtower. It's very difficult to connect. But, there are people that do leave the Watchtower for theological reasons. That's not the main reason people leave. But many do leave the Watchtower because their theology is twisted. Their theology is incorrect. So we do discuss that on Sunday, tomorrow. Every other Sunday, we discuss the theological teachings in the Watchtower. Now, tomorrow, we've got some really good programming coming in. Of course, we do our JW World News. That's at 3 o'clock. But we start at 1 o'clock. And we have a program called Knowing God. Now, I'm not trying to push you in here. I'm not trying to convert you. I know the witnesses say that too. But I'm just saying, if you want to still connect with God when you're leaving the Watchtower, check this out tomorrow. We have 2 Christian apologists. They're coming on tomorrow here beginning at 1 o'clock. It's the Knowing God program on the 6 screens. And these guys got a great topic tomorrow. It's actually right out of the Watchtower itself. What is the kingdom? What is the kingdom according to the Jehovah's Witnesses? They'll be talking about that tomorrow. And then we have Anne Marie's program, Testimonies. Testimonies. Now, these are people who have been witnesses at one time. They're former witnesses now. They came to Christianity, and they're going to tell a testimony. They're going to say what happened to them when they connected with Christ after leaving the Watchtower. Tomorrow we have 2 people coming on, Constance Noonan out of California, along with her friend. They'll be doing their testimony and how they became Christians. They'll be coming on Anne Marie's program tomorrow at 2 o'clock, Testimonies. That's the name of the program. But also at 4 o'clock, we have a man, his name is JEHOVAH'S. At one time, he was associated with the writing department of the Watchtower. And he'll be on YouTube as well. You'll be able to listen to him as well as the Knowing God program tomorrow. But JEHOVAH'S has got some questions that Jehovah's Witnesses should know leaving the Watchtower, and they're looking to see if the Watchtower is telling them the truth about theological teachings. Tomorrow, is Jesus Michael the Archangel? Can objects be possessed by demons? These are biblical questions Jay is going to be answering tomorrow. Is Jehovah the only name for God? Does it dishonor him to call him another name? Jehovah's Witnesses teach the dead are sleeping. What is the real condition of the dead? Is the Holy Spirit more than an active force? Did God create the world in 49,000 years, as Jehovah's Witnesses teach? And Jehovah's Witnesses say they have the truth. What is the truth? Well, 4 o'clock tomorrow, JEHOVAH'S, Making Disciples with JEHOVAH'S tomorrow. Can you join us? Why don't you join us if you want some answers to these questions, and you can ask Jay some questions too. Are you on there with us, Reese, from the belly of the beast?
That sounds very interesting. I want to know if Mr. Hess has a notion of regarding these kingdom halls that are sold and they haven't been decommissioned or whatever you would call it. Because that was an interesting thing to have a dedicated building and then it's sold to the Baptist, but it's not de-dedicated or decommissioned or turned vanilla or whatever.
Well, why don't you come in tomorrow if you're free and ask that to Jay. Ask him that question. He'd love to answer that. I'm sure he has an answer.
And that's at 4 o'clock tomorrow?
4 o'clock tomorrow, right here on the 6 Screens Network. Yep.
because I've had that question for a long time.
Well, come in with that question. He'd love to answer it, Pixie. Love to answer it. Okay, looks like we got New York City. Go ahead, New York. All right.
We got New York City here, Rick. I'll be on in just a few minutes.
All right,
with
you go ahead. We get someone else from New York as well. Did you want to say something, Shirley? I think that's you.
No, not me. No, that's okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Well, you sound energetic tonight, Shirley. Are you enjoying the 6 screens video suite tonight?
Well, yeah, I'm sorry. You know what my problem is? I don't hit the *6 to unmute. That's
All right.
my problem.
All right. Well, that's good. You can settle that out. But anyways, we got Reese coming in from the belly of the beast. He'll be coming in here very shortly.
Hey.
Yes.
Hi, Rick. This is Lady Q.
Who's this?
Lady Q.
Lady Q. My goodness. Well, good to have you calling in tonight, Lady Q. Yeah.
So I have a question, or if anybody knows about as far as the buildings. I checked into about a year ago or so. I checked into like what buildings or churches the Watchtower was buying around my neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I came across one that they bought from an ex-evangelist or something, but it was more like a warehouse. So I'm just curious now, are there like warehouses type that they're keeping things in there? And if so, does anybody know if that's where they're keeping stocks of things, or like when they're handing out? I'm just curious if they're also buying buildings other than just for halls.
Oh yeah, no, they are. They are buying different buildings. They're not giving much explanation on it. Some are for facilities for the future, storing products and what have you. So that's probably what was going on in your neighborhood. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just thought that was kind of odd. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. That's it. Well, thank you so much, Rick.
Well, thank you, Lady Gazak. Thank you very much. All right. Yeah, go ahead, Thomas.
Hello, Rick.
We've got Kansas. Go ahead, Thomas. Yep.
Yeah, how you doing?
Good.
Really enjoying the program. I've noticed on the internet that a lot of the JWs are just telling their members just to pray for other Jehovah's Witnesses. So I always message them back and tell them, hey, you need to be praying for an all mankind over there in those areas that are affected by that war over there. I just think that's horrible how they don't think of anybody else but themselves. They don't care about anybody else. They just act like that everybody else is part of Satan. That's the way they're taught,
Well, absolutely. Now, you on the app tonight? You sound good.
Yeah, boy, that I really like. I think it does sound better, and man, it works just great. I thank you a whole bunch, Rick, for helping me out with that. That really means a lot to me.
Well, let me just explain to people what's going on here, friends. We have an app. We have an app. You can call in from all over the world. Only a few countries you can't, but basically hundreds of countries you can dial in and free of charge. Now, if you'd like to call in, you're listening from Australia, you're listening in Europe somewhere, or Africa, or even have Africa listeners. We have people calling in from all over the world. If you would like to call us free of charge, why don't you do this? Go to the iStore, iPhone store, the App Store, and you want to also go to Google Play, their store. And what you want is you want to get the free conference call app. It's free conference call app. And you want the one with the little blue telephone picture. Hit that one, free conference call app. Download it free. Now, when you get it, you can just open it up, and then it'll want you to join a meeting. Now, the meeting you want to join is JW Talk. I'm sorry. But yeah, we'll get in there. JW Talk, that's the meeting and the password that you want to join. So by all means, if you want to get that app, check that out. Or if you want more information on it, write me at jwworldnews@gmail.com. jwworldnews@gmail.com. I'll help you walk you through the app so you can get that. And then you'll be able to listen in for free from pretty much all over the world. And the sound and quality and everything is so much better. Okay, I guess we're going to end it there. But I want to thank everyone for coming in. Now, if you're on YouTube and you want to listen to Reese, we can't bring him on YouTube because YouTube won't let us talk about the COVID. And Reese loves to talk about that. But if we talk about that, they'll ban us. So Reese will be on our 6 Screens video suite. He'll be on our radio network. He will not be on Facebook either. But if you're on Facebook and you're on 6 Screens video suite, I mean, not the suite, but if you're on the YouTube and you want to listen into the rest of the programs tonight, go to 6screensofthewatchtower.com. 6screensofthewatchtower.com. Scroll down. And the best way to listen in, there's a telephone number you can call. But why don't you join us on the video suite? Scroll down to the link that says 6 Screens Video Suite. Click the link. And all you have to do is put a name in there. It can be a fictitious name. If your name is Susie, put in there Ann. No one's going to know you. Put it in there. Listen in. You can chat with people. They're in there chatting live right now. So get in there and try that out. I think you'll like the 6 Screens Video Suite. Well, friends, listen, if you like what you see here tonight on YouTube, why don't you subscribe to our channel? Let's get this really out there so witnesses can listen in every Saturday night and at least like it on Facebook. Could you do that or share it even? Do that for me. And don't send any money here to the 6 Screens. People still want to do it, but I'm okay. I'm eating every day. I'm doing okay. I don't want you to send any money. I'm not doing this for money. So give it to somebody else. Give it to a poor Jehovah's Witness even, or give it to anybody that could use an extra $1 or $2. But don't send us any money. But I'm certainly appreciative of those that do. But I'd rather have you spend your money on something else. I want to do this for you because I got out of the organization free. And I'm not looking for anything here other than you share what you see. Share, like, and subscribe. That's good enough for me. So I want to say this. The last one leaving the Watchtower, please turn off the new light. We're going to the belly of the beast with Reese down in New York City. So let's do that right now. Let me disconnect this program. Let's get the other program up and running. So we're looking forward to Reese. He's got a lot to talk about tonight, I'm sure. So let's hear what he has to say coming up next.
You're on the 6 Screens Tele-Network, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, and exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, in Disney.
Well, we've got a program coming up next. It's called Watchtower and the Occult Connection. The host is a former Jehovah's Witness. His name is Reese. He's here with us tonight. I'm sure he has a lot to talk about. Hello, Reese. Are you there with us?
Yes, I am, Rick.
All right. Well, very good. Now, do I see you on? I'm going to put you up here on the 6 Screens video suite. So let's do that right now. Let me invite you on. So we'll get you right in here now so people can see you. You're being invited to come on right now. So give that a shot. There you go. And there you are. There he is. Look at that. You're smiling. You're looking like you just came back from the gym. It looks like you're having a pretty good night out there. There he is. There he is. He's looking good. So
I need to get back to the gym.
You got to get back to Well, so anyways, maybe it's that ginger beer that you've been drinking that's doing it to you, you know?
Got it right here.
There it is. All right. So what's going on, Reese? I mean, what are you going to be talking about tonight?
Well, you know what? I had to kind of revamp my outline. Tonight, I had really intended on going into the Catholic Church. Now, a story had emerged. It came out over the years. You might have heard Malachi Martin on Coast to Coast, and he had several